Neo, it's time to wake up. Now don't panic, Neo. You've entered limbo.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible.
Yes, that's right, Neo. We all must go through this. Limbo is very necessary.
Stop. Let me out. Let me out!
It's your turn, Neo. You must limbo.
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. I just got done watching Matrix Resurrections, and with this fourth installment in the Matrix franchise, we follow Neo once again, who has been plugged back in to the Matrix. From there, Mr. Anderson must uncover the secrets behind why he's been put back into the Matrix and what exactly has been going on ever since the last movie. And that's all pretty much it without giving any spoilers to you guys. This is a spoiler-free review. Before getting into it, I do want to thank our sponsor. That's right, Cinemark Theaters, baby! Feeling like deja vu on the channel? Cinemark always got your boys back. Big thank you to Cinemark for allowing me to watch this movie early. You guys know Cinemark Theaters is my preferred theater, so it is always such an honor when they go ahead and reach out wanting to sponsor the channel. Using the link in my description or pinned comment, you guys can find yourself a Cinemark Theater near you that is playing Matrix Resurrection or any of the great holiday movies this season. Cinemark will provide you with the luxury seating, great concessions, but also this is a Matrix film with them stunning visuals. You're gonna want to see it on the big screen. So be sure to use the link in my description or pinned comment so you can check out a showtime near you. Alright, so diving now into my thoughts with Matrix Resurrection, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I am extremely mixed on this movie. Now, I have the highest respects in the world for that original Matrix and everything that it did for the industry, with becoming a revolutionary film, pioneering some big next steps in Hollywood in terms of action, storytelling, visuals. And even though I was someone that didn't love the third movie, I still found the second film quite enjoyable. And so when I heard that they were planning to make another Matrix movie, bring back hot boy Keanu Reeves, who, like I said, is hot right now in Hollywood, I thought sounded like a great idea, even if it was half of the Wachowskis coming back to do it, Lana Wachowski. And even those trailers were kind of blowing me away. I really liked what I was seeing from the music, the visuals. I was thinking to myself, oh my god, the Matrix is about to do it again, and then not go watch the movie, and my mind is all over the place. Let me start off with some of the good things about this film. Keanu Reeves back as the character of Neo is like he didn't even miss a beat. Right now, while I think some will debate whether he'll be known as Neo for the rest of his life or John Wick, it was really great to see him fill those shoes again and explore the character of Neo all these years later. Same goes for Carrie-Anne Moss, who portrays Trinity in this movie, who I actually would have preferred a lot more of, but just the amount that we were given of her when she's paired up with Keanu Reeves really reminded you that they were the heart of that original trilogy, and they still remain the heart of this film, because at the end of the day, Matrix Resurrection is a love story. That, along with some other grander ideas that I think a couple of rewatches are necessary for you to totally understand the scope of Matrix Resurrection. And actually, some of the newcomers in here really surprised me on how much I ended up liking them, like the character that Jessica Henwick plays. Her character name is Bugs, and that's for a reason, because she'll be the rabbit sending Neo through that rabbit hole, helping him find his way back and out of the Matrix. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's character as the new Morpheus, acting-wise, had a lot to bring to the table, but he is one of the things I'm mixed about in this movie. In fact, let me dive into some of those mixed feelings I have about this movie, because I don't know whether to embrace them or the movie could have done more with that. Matrix Resurrection is one of those Hollywood movies that we're seeing a lot nowadays, where they're really baiting on nostalgia, hoping that old fans will be coming in, and if they throw a couple of references to the previous movies and lines that you remember, like
I still know Kung Fu.
you'll be clapping and cheering and going, I remember that, okay. And I mean, even just these past couple of months, we've seen it with Ghostbusters Afterlife, Spider-Man No Way Home, where Spider-Man No Way Home really got the nostalgia elements right, where they used it to advance the story, with recasting some of those old villains into the universe. Matrix Resurrection, for me, kind of felt a little more like Ghostbusters Afterlife, in where some of the callbacks and references to its predecessors made it feel more like it was sort of becoming a parody of itself. Especially that beginning half of Matrix Resurrection, a lot of it is recreating moments from the first film, and there's one scene in particular that I just don't know if I thought was brilliant or just the movie trying to be really hard to be meta, where, I don't think this is a big spoiler, Neo's character in The Matrix is a game developer, and the next game they're working on is Matrix related. So you have a boardroom meeting filled with characters that are talking about what made The Matrix cool, why do people like The Matrix, and they go for like about 5 minutes saying every possible thing that you could think of involving The Matrix, subreddits with online theories about what the world's really about, why people just like it for the action. And that's where on one side I was feeling like, oh, it's cool, they're self-aware, they know what they're doing right here, but then they fall into the trap of everything they were just poking fun at with the Matrix world. As the movie continues on, it becomes that. And that's where I felt like the execution of Matrix Resurrection really kind of failed for me, or just didn't go the way I'd hoped. And admittedly, part of the reason for that is because I'm not the biggest Matrix fan. Like I said, I appreciate those first two movies, I like them, but I was never someone that dug deep into the lore of the Matrix or studied every little theory or detail going on in that world, where Matrix Resurrection is not going to be kind to first-time fans or casual viewers of the Matrix. This film really goes ahead and keeps the lore of the last two movies, addresses things with the way the previous trilogy ended, attempts to fix some of that stuff, and even adds on a little bit more from what you missed out on, which I think should sound really exciting for fans of the Matrix who love this world and want to know more about it, because there are some new upgrades they add to the Matrix world where I was actually really fascinated and on board with. A lot of that had to do with the new Morpheus character. Again, I'm not going to go into spoilers involving him, but although I felt that this version of Morpheus was not really necessary to the story, and in fact I could have done without, or if they could have just made Yahya be a different character altogether, what they do with his version of Morpheus and the way he interacts with people outside of the Matrix when they get pulled into the real world, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. I would love to learn more about that. And those were the little silver linings of this movie where I was like, man, that's really cool that they were still able to find new little angles in this Matrix world after we thought we've seen everything here. Because while I admit that the visuals in here are pretty stunning, especially the last act where things just go full bonkers crazy and everything has been leading up to these action sequences, it looks great, but it's also kind of like, oh, all right, I guess this is the payoff that we're getting here. I think some might leave underwhelmed. And maybe this will just feel like a nitpick, but it just didn't feel like a Matrix movie, if that makes sense. It felt like something was missing here, where the vibe and tone of this film just feels drastically different from the previous movies, and that would be fine if they're actually trying to reboot and resurrect this series, but when you watch it, you come to find out, no, this is definitely Matrix 4. It's a continuation of the previous films. Along with that, be ready for just endless amounts of dialogue scenes where they're just gonna exposition you dump everything that's going on and explain into you this world, to where I found myself having a lot of questions and confused about some of the new things they were introducing here. So while Matrix Resurrection is fun just to see Keanu and Trinity back in that role with some new exciting little tidbits thrown into the Matrix reality that make the world feel a little more exciting, the execution, the story feels a little lackluster, and like you're not really resurrecting the Matrix. It feels more like you just needed some excuse to make another movie, and this is the best you could come up with. So for Matrix Resurrection, I'm gonna give action 3.5 stars. I really did like the action in here, even if some of the fight scenes are literally recreations from the previous movie. Seeing Keanu Reeves as Neo use his powers of the One will always be fun to see, especially with these updated visuals. Commenting in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. Surprisingly, this might actually be the funniest Matrix movie ever made, and that kind of goes to my point with the tone feeling off about this movie, where it's just not as serious as its predecessors. Drama in the film, I'll give it 3 stars here, but I was hoping for the story to entice me a little more. While I thought they brought in some new interesting elements into the Matrix world, the overall love story and the reason that Trinity and Neo end up back in the Matrix and how they have to get out just didn't feel very satisfying as a fourth entry into this world. Horror in the film, I'll give it 0.5 star too. I don't know about you guys, but I always get a little weirded out when you see Neo or these people come out of those liquid pods with little mechanical tubes on them. Ain't no way I want that to be me, man. And suspense the film, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. I wish my suspense in this movie could have been a lot more well built up, but the film is pretty long and the pacing kind of drags out to where I wouldn't be surprised some people start to get a little bored with just the amount of dialogue and exposition dumping that they do here. Casual fans, I'm gonna give it a C-. Cinephiles, I'll give it a B-. And critically, I'll give it a B-. For Matrix Resurrection, if you're a fan of this franchise and know the world pretty well, it's worth watching in theaters. And I truly mean that, man. If you're just someone who's not fascinated with the Matrix world, or you barely understand the concept of the movies, do not go watch this fourth film because you will just be lost as ever. But for you diehard Matrix fans or people who are really interested in this world and their concepts, there's some cool things to see here, just don't expect too much. But those are just my thoughts on Matrix Resurrections. I feel like I'm maybe in the minority where I didn't love this film as much as some people did out there. But let me know what you guys thought. Were you disappointed with this sequel? Were you happy with it? Be really curious to hear what you guys guys say. Anything, everything. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.